As we get set for the draft on Thursday night, more now from Titans GM John Robinson, head coach Mike Vrabel at their pre-draft press conference, previewing what will be 7 selections over 3 days.
Everybody ready? Well, it's good to be back in person first off and not looking at a Zoom camera. First, I'd like to thank Miss Amy for these facilities. This time a year ago, we were kind of huddled up in a small conference room across the street. It's been awesome to be in here in our new draft room, having meetings, talking through things and prospects as we prepare for next week. I'd like to thank a lot of people that have really helped in the team building process. This spring, Coach Vrabel, obviously, discussions we've had back and forth about prospects and fits for our football team. Todd Torselli, our trainers, all of the assistant coaches, Chick and Mitch, the personnel department, Ryan Cowden, Monty Ossenfort, John Salge, as we prepare for the draft. And then going back to free agency, Brian Gardner in the pro department, and certainly Ben Marino with the contract negotiation. So with that, excited about next week and another step and another part of the process as we try to put the 2022 Tennessee Titans team together. With that, we'll open it for questions.
I guess we're still a week away, John. I mean, how much movement is there still to do? What's the last week like leading up to the draft?
Yeah, just going back through. We watched through a couple guys last night as a group. You start the comparisons. This player versus that player. It may be vertically in the position stack and maybe horizontally, one position versus another position. You're trying to predict guys that are going to go ahead of where you're picking. Sometimes that's a bit of a crapshoot. So, but just some dialogue as we try to fine tune here heading into next week.
John, I just talked to AJ with everything that's been going on with the receiver market. Where you stand?
Yeah, we've had some discussions with his reps. And when he was here a couple weeks ago, I talked to him, and working through that. Not going to get into any details with contract negotiations. Never have really done that. But we've made it public about how we feel about AJ and how we wanted to be a part of this football team.
What are your thoughts on how the receiver market has exploded so much when you look at these recent contracts?
Yeah, I don't know what the trends are with that, T, but it's interesting to look at and where that has shifted. Every year it seems like certain positions there's ebbs and flows with where those markets goes. A couple of years ago, the safety market was down. That's when I think we got Kenny Vaccaro. He was out there for a while. We were fortunate enough that he was there in August. So, just kind of year to year how those market trends are.
Could that situation get all back to the draft strategy situation with AJ? If there's any uncertainty whatsoever?
Well, I think we're trying to get the best football player that's available for our football team. You're going to need every position at some point. I mean, we saw that last year with 91 different guys that lined up for us. So you're going to need good football players at a lot of different positions over the course of a season. So just try to put ourselves in the best position to take the best player that we think helps our football team.
John, you had a situation. I guess AJ's talking with Debo Samuel on an Instagram video talking about the terms of the negotiations. You got him requesting a trade. Does any of this make you feel more urgency when it comes to the AJ situation?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about where we're at. I've talked to AJ's reps. AJ knows how we feel about him, how much he means to this football team, and I haven't seen any Instagram videos or Snapchats or Vimeos or any of that kind of stuff.
When you've got the same agent representing 3 of the 4 receivers who are in this situation, does that complicate things in terms of who's first and them all wanting the most money?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, we don't really have any control over who reps who. That's up to the individual player and who they select and who they feel most comfortable with handling their situation. Does it complicate things? I don't know. Our focus right now is with our football team.
John, is there any chance that AJ could be traded between now and the draft?
I think I've spoke on that several times now. So Do not foresee that happening.
Have you, John, been any more hands-on than you feel like in terms of looking at this line prospects this year? Just seem like you've seen a lot of reports you get out.
Tracking the plane, John.
Pretty much to go what we did, but I just wondered because it was curious. Looked like there's been a lot of reports specifically with the O-line guy.
Yeah, there was O-linemen certainly at stops that I saw, and there were players at other positions, at some of those stops that I went to. And that's one of the things that Mike and I were excited about, was being able to get back out this spring, be around these prospects on their pro days, watch them work on the field, spend some time with them after their pro days, visiting with them, getting to know them. Maybe you get a little bit more time at the school than you do, certainly in that combine interview where it's 15 or 18 minutes, whatever that is. So you get a little bit more normalcy. The player's in his environment. He's in a meeting room that he's used to on his campus. Get a better feel for, the real guy, as opposed to, maybe what the rat race of the combine is, as those guys are being shuffled from one room to the next room to the next room, and it's a bit of a whirlwind for them.
Picking up on there, can you talk through Zion Johnson and Kenyon Green, this prospect?
Yeah, both those guys, the big, strong players. Both guys have played a couple different positions. Really Zion has played 3 positions. Kenyon's played, both guard and tackle. They're strong. They're good movers. Both of those guys were good when we met with those guys. And, they're good prospects.
Mike, can you chime in there? I know you've got special insight into one from Adam.
No, I don't think I have anything to add on Zion. Obviously he played next to Tyler, and he's an excellent player, an excellent person. Really good person. I'm sorry?
Did he live with your son?
Yeah, he roomed with Tyler, yeah. They probably didn't say much. Tyler doesn't say a whole lot, and Zion doesn't say a whole lot.
In terms of positions of need for your roster, just in terms of sheer number, receiver, tight end, offensive line, inside linebacker,
It's a lot of positions, Terry. We need a lot.
It is. But how does this draft stack up depth-wise in some of those spots?
Yeah, I think as we've gone through the process, there's been some position groups that have shown a little more volume, maybe than other positions. But, we feel like that, the positions that can help our football team, again, as I stated earlier, you're never going to know what position you're going to need throughout the course of of an NFL season. And there's players that really at every position that we feel good about. Now whether they're there when you're able to pick, that's another thing. If I had that crystal ball, the draft would be a lot easier. But no, I think that where our football team is currently and what's available is it's a good thing.
And not having a second round pick right now, does that make it harder to maneuver and get where you need to go?
Potentially, there's creative ways that you can, strategize and try to gain draft capital. Whether it's sliding back from where we're at, whether it's involving, future picks, in next year or the following year. There's ways to kind of put things together to try to put yourself in position to get the player you want.
Is there much interest in that kind of thing now, John? You get phone calls, in terms of moving now, or is that more closer to draft day?
Yeah, I think it's probably where we're at, John, in the draft where we're picking. That's a little bit more as you get closer to your pick. It's a different situation back when we had the first pick where, you're trying to strategize to get what you can get from that.
And obviously both you guys are hardcore football guys. Mike, is there anything you look for in players as a head coach that maybe, or something that gets you excited, or something that's a red flag that's different as a coach compared to maybe a personnel guy with a coaching background?
I think we want to have guys that we trust. I think that's important. We want to evaluate the trust and the ability, and hopefully find those where they match up with high level of trust and high level of ability.